Lauren dreams of the Fenris twins. Lorna feels like she's had just about enough of the inner circle, and Jace may have finally had his aha moment. Plus, Reeva's deep, dark secret is exposed. On this week's The Gifted, Season 2, Episode 11, meMento. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of The Gifted. So yes, as usual, lots of spoilers ahead, and we had some real nice ones this episode. In fact, I'm going to dive straight into it. Our Seed of the Week for this week, and that is the end. Our big reveal. Look, I had several contenders this week. We had emotional ones, we had action-packed ones. But really, from story development, from aha moments, that final reveal of Reeva and Benedict Ryan working together, that opens up so many possibilities. Explains really so much how these two opposing forces have been building within their opposition, and explains exactly why all of that is happening. This is the secret, folks. Their working together is giving each other a reason to exist. For Benedict Ryan, it's flaming the anti-mutant hatred. It's bringing the purifiers to fore. It's creating his whole realm of people, boosting up his image, his idolatry, all of that. He's becoming the person talking about the mutants, pushing the purifiers, and the purifiers are out there saving the humans. For Reeva, she gets a great enemy, something to bond all of the mutants together to fight against this growing purifier threat. And really, since she ultimately wants to have a mutant country, a mutant realm, Genosha, effectively, the two of these forces actually work well together. Eventually, she can have her own mutant place, and Benedict can have his own purifier place. I don't know whether it splits the country or we just get a separate mutant homeland. All depends, though of course my assumption is once it starts to get to that level, the competition of which spoils get to be claimed by who might be getting a little dicey. That's always at the end where those allies end up turning and feeding upon each other. So really, this is an excellent reveal. Makes total sense, and again is just this partnership, as dark as it is, boosts their own strengths, boosts their own recruitment. I mean, what was the statement after the breakout? Purifier recruitment's up 70%, so it is definitely paying off for Benedict Ryan and his purifier agenda. And Reeva, of course, happy to get some very dark people, mutants, on her side to stoke the fires a little bit more. So yeah, our new creepy bunch, the gang from the Ignavius cruise ship massacre, as Lorna puts it. Definitely a badass little group. Kind of trained already, though. There was kind of a nice little opening scene where it's like, you know, Reeva's trying to whip the new recruits into shape, but of course this is already a well-oiled machine. But they need to be machines that are soldiers. They need to be able to listen. So we had a little bit of flopping it around, showing who's stronger, who is tougher there. Reeva, for the moment, still. But we've got a group basically there to do the bad deeds. What is our leader there say? His long career has lasted because he doesn't ask any questions. Yeah, that's always a good sign for a good morally defined individual there. Oh, you got the cash? I'll do whatever you want. Which is actually the kind of people that Reeva is looking for. But for Lorna, finally, it's enough. Yes, the Rebecca massacre wasn't quite it. But I think between that and this new little crew, Lorna has finally seen the writing on the wall, is that Reeva is much too obsessive to believe in any lines. And perhaps this might end up getting Esme over, who's also been seeing a little bit too much line crossing, a little too many innocents killed. I think that might be something that was going to maybe pull her over onto Lorna's side. But at the very least, it does get Lorna back connecting in with Marcos. I mean, yes, she's already thinking about the kiss from last week, and he's been thinking about it, and we had a great scene again. This was one of my other potential scenes of the week, is when Lorna sort of carnaps, or carjacks, how would you actually define that? Since sort of she doesn't get in the car, but she does take control. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Marcos there, just a great little scene, a great emotional scene. I think really here is we're seeing the difficulties, the emotional intensity between these two characters, which is something I think many of us are sort of behind, them getting back together, but there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of pain. We get it from Marcos' side. So I like the fact that it wasn't a quick fix. It wasn't she shows up and says, oh, I'm sorry, but he doesn't want to deal with it, doesn't even want to talk. But of course, he is too good of a person to let people die just because she sucks at love. Come on, that was a nice moment. So that does finally get her on the side, which is great. Because in that moment, of course, he's driving around looking for the underground and half of them have all fled. He's trying to get people on their side. For Caitlyn, of all people, called towards war against the inner circle, and who drops right into his lap but Lorna, an inside information edge and badass partner fighter as well, willing to turn the tables on the inner circle. So in many ways, it is sort of a perfect thing at the perfect time. They just sort of had to sort through all of their emotional stuff. Helping that was the little light girl down in the Morlocks, who just gave a little, again, pop back to give Marcos a little romantic advice. A little kiss, a little glowy scar bit, which was nice. But I did like that. You know, you can only be that mad at somebody that you love. You know, it doesn't take strength to hate, it takes strength to forgive. All that good hero, good guy stuff and talk. Nice kiss, nice moment, little bit of attraction, but the reality is he's still in love with Lorna. She can see that. And that's good. You don't need any, like, third wheels. I hate it when they always put in these love triangles here just to sort of create drama. I'm glad that that's just, it's information. It's a good moment. It allows him to connect, see that, yes, he could be attracted to somebody, but it's really pulling him back into Lorna's camp there. So I liked it. I like seeing the relationship coming together. They had a nice final scene. It was very emotional. It was very well done, and it does show that, you know, at the very least, we get a little group together. And loved, yes, when they kissed, we had the little aurora, the dawn, enveloping them. So it was kind of like a whole family reunion right there. And Lauren is hunkering down, focusing, training, expanding her abilities. So much so, she's even doing it in her dreams. Dreaming of the Fenris twins because of the creepy, creepy music box. Come on, that just sounds really off, doesn't it? A little off key, feeling it. It just, that's not something to sleep by, I don't think. The music, as Reed was saying, is The Earl King by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, 1815 Germany. Same author that did Faust and such like this. So yeah, it is the story of we're like a goblin king, a mysterious force, yes, but we're thinking of something like a goblin king, maybe a little labyrinth reference pull off of this as well, who goes out and hunts children. So yeah, very creepy, creepy song, creepy poem, creepy lyrics. It's all just very, very wrong. Perfect, though, for the Struckers. Nice getting a little flashback, seeing the older Strucker after the sister had died. Apparently, getting the music box all geared up. And I'm wondering what the little trick was that had into it. Could it only have been opened by a descendant? Is that sort of how that how that worked out? Certainly a secret enough to kill for. You knew that guy was dead, right? Offering to buy it off of Von Strucker. He's not going to sell that, and he's not going to let you know any of the secrets. But yeah, anyway, it was just sort of a cool sequence. A very interesting kind of development going on with the Struckers, actually, with Caitlyn kind of hunkering down and being like, yeah, do whatever it is that you have to do. You know, Reed's trying to be safe. Caitlyn's trying to go. Caitlyn and Reed, I've mentioned this before, they sort of jump positions. And I don't know if there's a consistency so much or just to kind of keep things interesting that somebody has to be pushing one way and somebody has to be pushing the other, and then they just sort of trade points of view back and forth. I mean, Caitlyn does definitely want to get Andy back, so I guess defeating the Inner Circle is the way to do that. Doing that is all important, therefore we have to push for as far as we go. But we do get to see kind of the reason of that development, of that kind of anything goes, which, you know, is always a rough edge to follow. That's sort of the separation between, you know, your typical good and evil, is what lines will you cross. But very cool. I love the new power, Plates of Death. I think that's what I was calling it. I think I'm going to go with that. Cool superpower. Love the whole landlord thing. We're seeing again these sort of rise of the purifiers, of the reaction, of the fears of mutants, and how that's sort of instigating itself within the population, that it's sort of a wink and a nod type kind of bit. A lot of those elements playing out, I think, really well in this episode also, seeing the consequences, the fear that starts to develop that anybody could be turning you in. And in fact, that was something I think that was really cool for Lauren to sort of reverse with the landlord at the end too. Because while the mutants in some way do have that fear of humanity, who could turn us in, who is watching, who could it be, who are our enemies, the mutants in the same way can work that to their advantage too. You don't know who a mutant is, could be anybody, so you're never safe. Very dark of Lauren to go that way, but after finding the little locks of hair from grandmother and grandfather, no, granddad and grandaunt. Who's the mom? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Between finding those hairs, I'm wondering, between the dreams that's been going on, the connection we've had with Andy, and now having this sort of physical meMento directly from the Von Struckers, is that sort of pushing Lauren into that real darker edge we've been concerned about. And therefore, once she connects up with Andy, is she going to stay with the Mutant Underground? Or is she going to switch over to the Inner Circle? I mean, we've had little back and forths with Lauren and Andy already in the series, a few of them back in season 1. So I'm wondering, with this rise up, could Reed's concern really play itself out here? And instead of fostering an ally to help defeat the Inner Circle, could they be, in fact, training someone that will fight against them for the Inner Circle? Oh, and real quick, I almost forgot to mention the Plates of Death versus Cops. Again, also a cool scene. I love the reversal of Caitlyn coming out and saying, "What? No, not here. The mutants, those bad mutants, they're outside. Go chase them." And the fact that she can manifest, that Lauren can manifest her powers, her abilities, these Plates of Death, outside of the room that they're in. You know, she can manifest them out there, outside, and have that going around so it doesn't draw attention to her. So, again, it was a great feint, using their fears against them, but also kind of, you know, turning sort of things around. Mutants aren't here, they're out there, go get them! Smart. Jace, meanwhile, is learning of the old adage, be careful what you wish for, because once you get it, you may not like it. Really, I think this might be finally our big turn on Jace. Really framed nicely with the divorce papers and the phone call of his wife. That everything starts out is, again, he's lost everything, he's sacrificed everything. Does he want to say I love you to his wife? Just sign the papers, just sort of move on? I mean, again, he's kind of pushing that distance a little bit. Part of his, of course, discussion with Mr. Ryan there is to try and let everyone know, hey, the mutants in Atlanta, they're still alive. I was right. I get a little bit of vindication. Ryan, of course, not caring about this, just wants to stoke the fires of mutant hatred. Which, of course, by the end of the episode, we learn exactly why that's being pushed so much. So, yeah, so that's sort of where we're seeing Jace starting off. And in fact, stepping over Ted a little bit here. Ted, who was pulling Jason, who had set up that whole Purifier chapter, was really kind of running with the hate. Kind of reversing things here. And maybe this near-death experience may have, at least for a moment, given him a moment of thought. Asking, do you want to really get back out there? We just did this. I'm under orders to go put people on the streets. Again, we're seeing the consequences of this type of just overzealousness. Really framed perfectly by invading a youth shelter. All right, I mean, of all places. We heard there might be some people here. We're running in with guns. Yeah, again, a student militia or citizens militia there. Not really feeling it, despite Ted's kind of assurances. Oh, we're off-duty officers. It's a public space. These weapons are registered. That doesn't mean anything. You have armed, overzealous people. Accidents happen, which is exactly what goes on. Exact focus of what happens with Jace in this whole episode here. And I gotta say, I love the kids. Well, I love the one kid that Jace was talking to, and the other one we didn't get to know much because he died. But that whole idea of, again, that expectation of, if you run, you're guilty. Why else would you run if you weren't guilty? And it was thrown right back in Jace's face perfectly. Man, you're purifiers, you're like the clan. My ancestors didn't need a reason to run from them, and neither did yours. Which finally is something that kind of knocks Jace back on his little overzealous, overfocused heels. That he tries to recover from with the very stumbly line of, well, no, this isn't about hate. But I don't think he could ignore that. I think that accusation really puts things in the perfect perspective. So when he hears that gunshot immediately afterwards and runs in and sees Ted standing over a bleeding and quickly dead mutant youth, this is the consequences. This is what happens. And he has to lie to him for him. He has to cover things up with the worst, oh man, you know that this phrase was intentionally chosen. He was threatened to position, and Officer stood his ground. Officer Williams stood his ground. Obviously not. The kid was seated. So it was a straight murder, overreaction, raised hands, did whatever, doesn't matter. I think we can see that this was overzealousness on Ted's part. Yes, he didn't want to be there, but that's really beside the point. You put these elements in, you put all these ingredients into this pot and stir it all up, people are going to die. Mistakes are going to happen. People are going to overreact, and that's exactly what goes on. And that's exactly what Jace is sitting in his apartment mulling over. Oh my God, what has happened? So then when his wife calls up, watching Ryan on the TV, saying these guys did this right, it was a horrible thing, this terrorist that was in this youth center, again, a completely spun story, and only just to defend the purifiers, to defend Ted, and to stoke that hatred up. And that's when his wife calls to reach out, which in some ways, again, would be that perfect moment. He gets through, he covers his friend, his wife calls him back up, wants to meet, starting to believe him, starting to see that he that he was right the whole time, but Jace knows the truth, how wrong the entire situation is, which is why he couldn't talk to his wife. He's getting exactly what he wanted, but he realizes the way that it is coming to him gives a heavy distaste to everything. So I am really hoping that this is finally the moment where Jace steps away, Jace turns, and we might be able to get some actual good allies to fight the people that are really causing the problems. Specifically, Benedict Ryan and his partner, Reeva. And with Clarisse, a little bit. Clarisse, you can definitely see, feeling the weight of war and the consequences of the battle this episode, both in sort of her reaction, the fear of what John wants to do. Love the little discussion that Caitlin had about, but that's just how people are. People can adapt, they can alter, but they can't change. He's a heroic individual who's going to go out and fight. He was in the armed services specifically to do that. He's leading the underground specifically to fight and defend. He's always going to put himself in danger. And that's always going to weigh heavily on the people that we love. Glad to see John up and around. Nice little scene with the Morlocks. Again, we were checking in with a light ball girl. And of course, Erg, who is promising to protect Blink if she wants to come down here. All right, we do have a little bit of a sort of a love triangle thing that's going on right here. I love that moment where Erg calls Clarisse Blink, and Marcos is like, "Oh, so you're Blink now? I am Eclipse. Let's go on. Okay, everybody gets a code name." So that was kind of a fun little moment. And again, sort of a nice final moment there between John and Clarisse, between Thunderbird and Blink. As he's owning up to his fears, his concerns. He's lost people close to him. He doesn't want to lose anyone else that he loves. Interesting that we did not give the reciprocal "I love you" from Clarisse. Does she not know? I mean, I think she does. The whole action, the whole reason why she can't go down and be with Erg is because she's in love with John. You know, we know this. But it was interesting that she didn't respond that way. She did just take the moment and says, "I don't want to lose you either." Which is kind of the same thing, though not exactly it. So, again, little development there, not a whole lot of stuff. Finally, what we do see, of course, is we get the call from Angeline that, yes, she should have listened to John, got to call leaders of the underground because everything's going to hell. Why? Because you have a massive amount of prisoner mutants out there in the inner circle just sucking it all in, and the purifiers using it for reasons to go out. Yeah, if the Mutant Underground's going to do anything, it's going to have to be now. Yesterday actually would have been preferable. Alright, so I think that pretty much covers everything. Yeah, I don't have any extra stuff to talk about today. It was all covered, so that's it for this week. So next week, it looks like we're getting superpowered Lorna going up against the Inner Circle. Inner Circle wants both Fenris twins. Of course they do. We can't work with just one, and Lorna's turned into a pretty big badass right now. So, could this be the return of the Fenris twins? Could Lorna be stepping over to the Inner Circle, or are they going to be caught with their pants down, thinking this is going to be a quick pickup, and she's going to mow through them? Very excited to see that. And also, what is going on with the Mutant Underground? Are they stepping up? Are we getting up to a big, massive mutant battle? And how are the Purifiers going to play in all of this also? So, really excited for next week. Hopefully you will come and join me for that review as well. But for tonight, we are all done. Thank you so much for joining me. And as always, if you enjoyed this review, please go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, and comments, toss those right down in the section below. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. Please subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Quick and easy, one button press, you'll catch all these reviews. Plus, we got American Gods coming up, trying to Game of Thrones final season. So much fun stuff. And we'll throw up, in fact, a couple reviews for you to check out right there. So, that's going to be it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.